This week's episode is brought to you by Capital Financial Advisory Group for all your retirement needs.
Broadcasting from coast to coast, it's the Financial Safari with your host, Coach Pete D'Arruda. You'll hear from some of the nation's top financial professionals. So stick around and find out how to make it through the jungle of the financial world, right here on the Financial Safari.
Welcome once again to Financial Safari. We talk retirement here and what you need to have in place to have the kind of retirement really that you deserve. I'm Dave Perkins, along, of course, with Coach Pete's local trusted advisor, Gregg Berrian, and joined in the studio by America's wealth coach and best-selling author, Coach Pete D'Arruda. Your book, The Big Book on Retirement.
It's a fun book. It's a fun book to read. It was a fun book to write. I had you guys read it before I published it. It's 316 pages.
Absolutely.
With
really fun
big
book.
Font, too.
Yeah. Well,
like
not
that.
too big.
Not too big.
I wasn't really
It's not
padding the
insulting.
pages, but it's so you can read it. Because as I've got older, I can't read that real 8-point type anymore.
it's like a 16-point
12 to
font.
14-point type there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, we're looking at the unexpected. How do we protect our retirement from the unexpected? And there's plenty of that. I mean, Greg, this is an area you talk a lot about, healthcare. That's certainly something that's in the unexpected column.
Well, that can definitely be an unexpected piece, and so therefore, it's funny. Coach asked me to write one of the chapters on healthcare in the book, which I was an honor to do that. And the opening line in that chapter is, if you want to lose everything you have, go one day without healthcare.
Yeah.
That's the day you get T-boned or you end up in intensive care.
Yep.
Even a bad policy, on a scale of 1 to 10, I give the Affordable Health Care Act like a solid 5. But even on something that's only a 5, the most you're going to be out of pocket is still $9,000.
Yeah.
Coach, that's a heck of a lot less than $200,000.
Well, the secret to the financial world and the insurance world is to know the maximum amount you could lose.
Control.
Yeah. So if you have a limit, and you said about $9,000, then you know you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
If you don't have a limit, then you have unlimited losses, like if you have all your money in stocks, unlimited losses on the downside. If you don't have a good health insurance policy and you go to the hospital, I mean, you could talk about losing $40,000 or $50,000 a day in the hospital if they have specialists come in.
Yeah.
And every one that goes in the room and takes a peek at you, they sign that chart and you get a bill for it.
Every time a doctor comes in.
Remember the $10 aspirins we always heard about,
Yes.
right? So it doesn't mean as much when you have a policy that's going to cover it.
Exactly. And so that's why you want to have this. You want to have that same kind of policy covering your assets.
Yeah, very important to make sure that you know exactly what your income's going to be at the minimum in retirement. We put plans together where we show a guaranteed minimum of income. You can always get more, but never less. That's good.
I've got a great one here for the next segment, Coach. You'll see. Yeah, it's a good one.
But it makes sense, doesn't it? Having
Absolutely.
a lifetime income that you know with exact certainty the lowest it'll ever be, but there's no limit on how high it could be. But there is a limit on how low it could be. You could build plans when you know the minimums and the guidelines.
Work from the bottom.
Easy to build a plan.
Yep.
I'd rather deliver that news to someone saying, I've got some bad news. I lied to you and I told you you're only going to get $4,000 a month in retirement. Now you qualify for $6,000 a month in retirement.
Whoops, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. That's a nice sorry.
Exactly.
We don't like the ones where you said, hey, I told you you were going to get $7,000 a month and now you can only get $3,000 because the market hadn't been doing what it should.
Yeah.
No, we want to eliminate that market risk.
Oh, yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Especially when it relates to lifetime income. Because lifetime income is what everyone, that's why we retire. We retire with lifetime income, and it takes us the worry out of living in retirement, which gives us financial freedom. Financial freedom is what we all want.
It's critical.
Yeah.
Yeah, that financial freedom. And that, as you said, Coach, we know, and looking at the unexpected, at least that's ruled out as an unexpected. Inflation we've experienced, and that kind of crept up on us. How do we factor in that financial fill-up? How do we factor inflation in that?
Well, we've been talking about inflation for years and building it into our plan. And we've been anticipating 4% inflation. Of course, inflation was higher, but there were a lot of years where inflation was lower. So anticipating 4% inflation, having the money grow at least to that limit, has put us ahead of the curve. If you have an advisor who's never talked about inflation, that's where we get into trouble. So inflation, could it go higher? It could be a lot higher than it is. I know we're complaining about where it is now, but it could be double this. Mid 1970s, it was pretty high, remember? So, so we need to anticipate what the worst case. I'm not a negative guy, as you know, but I try to think negative as far as what bad could happen to us in the financial world, and let's make sure to build a plan to counteract whatever bad was there.
Yeah.
So then when you reach the retirement age, or you reach that point where you need income, there's no surprises, and the only surprises are positive ones. You have more money, not less money, than what you said you needed to begin with.
You know, it's funny, coaches. You know, we work a lot together with folks out there, listeners and viewers. And, you know, sometimes people feel they know exactly what's going on the financial side, but you know where they don't know anything?
What's that?
Is on the Medicare side.
Oh, yeah,
but
Medicare.
But the thing is, the folks out there have to also realize that there's more to life, more to your financial world than your advisor might be presenting to you.
Yeah, for life and health and for income.
Exactly.
Yeah, life, health, and income, very important. We insure our property, our houses and our cars. We need to insure our income. We also need to ensure our health situation, that we're not going to have a catastrophic event that'll put us in a place that we don't have the retirement we deserve.
Yeah.
And we do all that. So again, we don't want to get too complex here, but the magic is to make sure that you understand where every single dollar that you have is going and where it's going to come from in retirement. We see way too many plans where people think they have a plan, but when they come in, there's no income to that. So if you don't have a lifetime income plan, you really don't have a retirement plan. We have to know with certainty what our income is going to be. Not only Social Security, you do a great job helping folks maximize the amount they can get Social Security, deciding when to file, with big decision a lot of times, but then having a lifetime income check, or 2 or 3. I've got a guy I talk to on my show every now and then, my Financial Safari radio show, Tom Hegna. He's an advisor out in Arizona. He's got 11 different income streams set up for retirement. Now, he only works because he wants to, because he has so much income coming to him, he doesn't have to worry about that anymore. Now, not everyone out there listening and watching on TV is going to be in that position where we have 11 different income streams. But having 1, 2, 3, 4 income streams, one is Social Security. We're all going to have that. Most of you have a 401k. The 401k has a lump sum. It shows you what the balance is. What if we could turn that lump sum into a lifetime income stream? Well, there's a stream of income. Then we build inflation protection in there. Maybe we do 2 or 3 other income streams. So it's all about having the right income streams for the right time of your life.
One thing also, Coach, we have, a lot of people don't realize this, people keep on forgetting about it, keep on kicking that darn can down the road, is Social Security really is only truly up to 2034, at which point in time, it may only be 80% of what you think it is.
Yeah, and there'll be some means testing there, I think, in the future, which means if you have any other money saved, you might not qualify for Social Security. You know how they do it. The government says means testing. It means anybody who really qualifies for it's not going to get it.
It's mean.
We need to make sure we have our own income sources, though. I don't want to depend on the government in retirement. I don't know about you. We have something called a Medicaid spend down, where people they have someone talk them into spending all their money down, and then the government will take care of you and put you in a nursing home. Folks, I don't know if you remember the smell, but both my aunts were teachers back in the day in New England, and both of them end up in the government-paid nursing homes. And I remember the smell hit my nose in the parking lot. Oh, the smell of the nursing home by the government organizations, which weren't clean, regular. I mean, this was a horrible smell. You don't want to be you don't want to depend on the government or be a ward of the state. So don't let someone talk you into spending down, because there's all your money. There's ways where you can be independent and have your own plan put together and come out a whole lot better. Dave, it makes a lot of sense. I know I've talked about this before, about the spend down. And it doesn't make any sense if you have money put aside the right way. I mean, you can be financially independent and not depend on the government. You don't want to depend on the government, Greg.
No. You want to depend on good choices.
Yes, you want to depend on your choices. And you can make good choices. And the first choice to make, I think, would be to give us a call and let us put together a review of your current plan, and also a battle plan of the next 50 years of where you're going to survive and thrive in retirement. We could put together a plan you could be proud of, and you'll never have to redo it, and you'll never have to worry all the way through retirement. Dave, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it really does, and it's all about that financial freedom, to achieve your financial freedom and to find out the strategies that can do that for you, working with the team, and also to get that income you can count on. Call the number on your screen or text the number on your screen. Stay with us. There's more Financial Safari coming up.
Folks, just like a perfect pass, your retirement plan needs precision and strategy. In the Big Book on Retirement, I lay out the game plan for your successful future. From the kickoff to the final whistle, the Big Book on Retirement covers every strategy you need for a winning retirement. I break it down like a football play, making it easy for you to understand and execute my strategies. The Big Book on Retirement is your playbook to success. Get your copy of the Big Book on Retirement today and start planning your victory party with me by your side all the way through retirement.
Hey folks, Coach Pete here with Marty Hensley. We're joining you here from the Money Desk. Got a little special report on the financial red zone, how important it is to make sure you identify what it is. And every family's different, Marty, when we talk about the red zone. You want to give a quick definition to the folks what the red zone is?
Basically, we talked about the financial red zone, how important that is to understand what that is. Typically, that's about 10 years or less to retirement. And then when you get in that financial red zone, your goals change, your objectives change. Your whole philosophy toward investing money needs to change and be, it needs to evolve where, when you're 10 years or less to retirement, your goals and objectives are much different than you were when you were in the accumulation phase back in your 30s and 40s.
Yeah, we need to, number one, reduce financial risk as we get close to the red zone or in. And like I always say, once you're in the red zone, you're never out, but we can show you how to make sure you never have any problems in the red zone.
Right.
I mean, when we get close to a city, you're approaching the city limits, and you go around the city like this, you're never out of the city limits, but you're always circling it. Same with the red zone. So reducing risk, very important as we get close to that red zone, correct?
That is a discussion we have with our viewers, our listeners, almost every single day, is when you get in that financial red zone, a big conversation point is risk tolerance.
Yeah.
That risk tolerance has to be adjusted because as you're at or approaching retirement, you need to be more and more risk averse. And we're not. You get in retirement, and that's not the time to use the Las Vegas term, to roll the dice. That's not the time to do that. So one of the things we talk about at great length is reducing that risk and seeing and identifying what your risk tolerance is. And we want to have a plan that's hand in glove with whatever that risk tolerance that you tell us, where you're comfortable, and that's what's important.
Well, today as we tape this webinar, this introduction to webinar, it is August 5th. 2024. And right when we came in the studio, the market Dow was down 900 points. So how many calls have we got today from folks that are worried? None, right?
Zero.
Because our clients know that they are taken care of. We don't have all their money that they're going to need for retirement tied to risk. Matter of fact, most of the money we have for retirement is not tied to risk. It's in safe places that guarantee lifetime income. How important is that when we get close to the red zone to make sure we have an income plan or two or three that aren't tied to the stock market?
I would be diminishing the fact if I said that's crucially important because it's not, we talk about sequencing of returns and how important that is. And so imagine last week, we've seen the last few days just been unbelievably volatile.
Yep.
What happens if you said, I'm going to retire this week and my first paycheck coming out of my retirement plan just happens to be on the day that the market's down 600 points? That's going to cause some animosity.
Yeah, and the market's going to go up and down every single day the rest of our lives.
Right.
But the secret is not to depend on the market for your return and to make sure your retirement is safe because the market can go up and down all around. So get some money, isolate it, eliminate the market risk, and make sure you turn on that lifetime income switch. Now, one other thing when we talk about the red zone is managing our health care risks in the future, getting a long-term care policy, getting med-sup policies correctly. What would you tell people that are curious about the medical aspects of retirement?
Yeah, any of our listeners, any of our viewers on all the different outlets that we use, those are exactly the financial part, investing the money, that certainly is probably the most important part, but we want to talk about some of those other things. We want to have a Social Security claiming strategy. We want to have that put together. We want to be sure your health insurance is in check. We're going to hold your hand when you get there in your mid-60s and getting signed up for Medicare, Part A, Part B. We want to be sure you're in the right plan there. We want to see if you have a long-term care policy. Is that one of the best policies that you can own? We want to look at your life insurance. Do I have a life insurance policy that makes sense for my situation? And when I'm in that retirement red zone, that life insurance may or may not be as big a deal as it was maybe back when I had a huge mortgage and I wanted my family taken care of in case something were to happen.
Yeah, the financial red zone, big thing. Age-appropriate investing we talk about there too, making sure that we aren't at too much risk when we get in that financial red zone. Making arrangements. Now, I have the Little Green Book of Life. It's a bestseller. It's a 100 pages interactive book where we can write in some of our aspects of our life, where
Fantastic
our safety deposit boxes are. If we have a life insurance policy, does that life insurance policy offer offer long-term care. Many times you might not even need a long-term care policy if you have the right life insurance policy. We're going to talk about that, how to make sure that you get the right coach for the time of your life you're in. We're going to do a webinar on this and many more topics, folks. And so we got the link on the screen to sign up for that webinar. Very informative. You're going to have a lot of take-home material too. And anyone who does attend the webinar, we're going to send a copy of my brand new book. It's 316 pages. The Big Book on Retirement. What are your opinions on that Big Book of Retirement?
And I'd say I've read it twice. I think it's a fantastic tool for folks that are at or approaching that financial red zone. And even more important to that, I think it'd be important to read it even if you're not in the zone, so to speak, before as you're approaching retirement, maybe 15 years out from retirement.
Right. So the financial red zone, folks, it's something to address. We're all going to be there. If it's better than the alternative of not living that long. But if you're within retirement, you're in that financial red zone. If you're in retirement, you're in that financial red zone. If you're 50 or older, you really need to check out this webinar. There's the link on your screen. We'll see you over there on the webinar. Marty Hensley, Coach Pete, see you next time. Hey, I'm Coach Pete DeRuda, president of Capital Financial. Folks, the financial world is very, very confusing. That's why we put together a series of educational videos called webinars. You can see them at any time by signing up at CoachPete.com. We'll see you there.
Having that rebalancing is very, very important. I know I overuse that word crucial, but it is crucially important. And so what we want to do is be sure we want to find a way that we want to enhance long-term returns. How do we do that? And a big part of that is that whole idea of the rebalancing, to be sure that my investments are invested commensurate with my age. And so we see so many people. I just talked to a listener just the other day, and he came in, and I told him point blank, we were looking at his, portfolio, and I said, he was, I think, in his mid-60s, and I said, if you were 40 years old, I would say you're exactly on track, and he goes, holy cow. And I go, yeah, problem is we're not 40. We're not 40 anymore. And so he says, so we need to make some major adjustments. And I said, yes, and that's absolutely here, as we're just talking about, that's where the conversation that we need to do a major rebalance from a standpoint to be sure that everything is in line with our age. And he was in a situation where it made a lot of sense for a 40-year-old, but made zero sense for someone in their mid-60s. So, that rebalancing is very important. We talk about all the different asset classes with, you want to talk about what I've got and invested in the stock market, what I have that's protected that's our whole mantra here is the growth, protection, and income. I want to be sure that I'm getting that growth, I'm getting that protection, and I'm getting that income, and I'm getting that all in a way that makes sense for me. Now, we believe that we should have the growth where we need some money that's invested in risk-type investments, invested in the market, but at the same time, we want to have some of that money that's invested for protection. And so in our world, it takes kind of that market timing out of the equation. Is I kind of put a stake in the ground. This is what I've got protected. I put a stake in the ground. This is what I have invested, in the risk type investments, and then they work hand in glove with each other. And so that takes a lot of that kind of question mark out of there when we talk about some of this rebalancing and so forth, and that I don't have to worry about that kind of the market timing. Is my timing going into this investment or that investment? We try to take that out of the equation as much as we possibly can and put something in place where it just simply makes sense. Now I want my investments, I want those to start to distribute me income on a month-to-month basis. And then that's when we put a plan together and we talk about Social Security and we talk about, investment income and where's that income come from. And we talk about tax consequences and we talk about Roth IRAs. We talk about traditional IRAs. We talk about all these different type things. Because when we want that income in retirement, and again, I don't mean to be repetitive here, but we want that income coming to us in the most reliable, predictable way that we can. But more importantly, we also want it coming to us in the most tax efficient way.
you hear that? That's me enjoying my retirement. Traveling around the world to play golf, where I want, when I want, with whomever I want. Even got some customized clubs. Because years ago, I rolled over my IRA with the help of a local trusted advisor. Contact us to get started today. This is a no-cost, no-obligation retirement review to help educate and enlighten.
Welcome back to Financial Safari. A great conversation as always, and we appreciate you being along. Obviously, you're thinking retirement and wanting to get the right strategies for your retirement. That's where Coach Pete and the team come in. Coach Pete D'Arruda is with us now, America's wealth coach and best-selling author. His book is available on Amazon, The Big Book on Retirement. Also, Gregg Berrian is Coach Pete's local trusted advisor. And Greg, you give us stories on this show that we can relate to. They're hypotheticals, but they're very relatable.
Yes,
and
yes.
You call it strategy du jour.
Sure.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
You've got another good one for us today. So what we have here is a 64-year-old couple. They're both 64. They have $275,000. They want to turn on income immediately. Enter Gregg Berrian.
Do you know what my favorite French word is?
What's that?
Bordeaux.
Okay.
It's a good wine, too. Yeah. It's a good part of France.
Exactly.
Favorite French word.
Yeah.
And Burgundy ain't so bad either. Okay. Yeah.
Hopefully didn't do it before, did you?
Right.
So as we've talked about many occasions over the past 20 years, the average amount of money that the average advisor would advise their clients to have released from their accounts in retirement is 4%. Am I correct in that assumption?
Called the 4% rule.
4% rule.
Which has been dispelled by a lot of financial professionals over the past, because its theory is they say, look at your account balances you have in stock accounts, money that's at risk.
Right.
And in theory, you can take 4% out of that balance each year with about a 92% chance of not outliving your money. The problem I have is if I got on a plane and the pilot came on and said we've got about a 92% chance of landing safely, I'd be the first one off that plane before we took off.
Be right
because
behind
I don't want 8% chance of failure. I want a 100% chance of certainty of success. And so the 4% rule works, but it doesn't. If you're 9 out of 10 people, it works. But if you're 1 out of 10, it doesn't. That's not good, Greg. That doesn't fit what I say is Coach Pete approved. It's never been approved by me.
Well, what we found here is that we're going to blow that 4% rule out of the water right now. Blow it out of the water. 64 years old. This is on a husband and wife. So what's really cool, Dave, is when we turn these incomes on, even if it's an IRA that belongs to a very particular person, if they're married, we can include the spouse in the income for the rest of their life, which is really nice.
Well, think about this. I don't want you to just go over this real quick because this is very important. Think of it. A IRA is an individual retirement account. Individual means just for me. But there's special provision that we use where you can turn an IRA into joint income for both husband and wife. Both spouses benefit from an individual retirement account. Let's not brush over this real quickly because this is a gigantic improvement in the financial world to be able to have income for both spouses off an individual account that used to expire upon your death.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And so what we're looking at is we said we do 4% rule. But what we did is we took that 4% and we just kicked it to the trash, okay?
Yep.
And in this particular
took it to the
dumpster.
It's out of here.
And we're going to be able to offer 5.55% to this couple.
Okay, but all right, let me ask you a question. All right, so 5.5% is a lot better than 4%. What is the percentage of success there? What is there a 100% chance of certainty, or is
100%
all right,
chance.
so 100% chance of it working.
100%.
That means 0% chance of failure.
0% chance of failure.
Very, very important. You have more income and no chance of ever. Yeah. All right. That's good.
So we have $275,000, and what's wonderful is you can retire, put the money into this strategy, and then next week call me up and say, Greg, I'm ready to turn on my income. And I said, great. Where do I send it? No problem. Nice. And so what we're going to be able to do for this couple. This is we're talking zombie apocalypse, we're talking end times, whatever it may be. If this never made a dime, we're going back to 1929, okay? And you would start out at earning $15,263, guaranteed for the rest of your life, which is 5.55% of what we have here.
Right.
Now that's the worst possible case scenario, but We like to be optimists, Coach.
Yes.
We like to be optimists.
Yes.
And so let's say the market did behave, has its ups, has its down, we have some earnings, we have some no earnings, but it'll start off at $15,263, and on year 10, he's up to $35,780.
So this is increasing income plan. It'll never decrease, could always increase or stay the same.
Built-in inflation
All right,
fighter.
see, Dave, this is easy to build a plan around this, a retirement plan, when you know with certainty what the minimum's going to be.
Right.
And you can always have more money. I'm sure your clients at that time could find some ways to spend extra money.
Sure.
Now, of course, you can have this. You can have your pension do the same thing. But here's the thing: let's say you started your pension. You and your spouse are off traveling, and you're in your RV and you die in a car crash 3 years later.
Money goes away.
Money goes away. Well, not in this case. In this case, on 3 years, they still have $252,000 for
If someone passes away, if they pass away, it goes on to next again.
Precisely.
Yeah, so it's a pass-on plan, but more importantly, it's a plan that can increase that income when you're here in retirement. And if one of the spouses dies, it continues for the other spouse. Again, we're talking about an IRA account, individual retirement account, that can turn into two spouses' income instead of one, plus leave the money to the children if
Anything
there's money
that's
left. Very important to get the real income plan in place, Dave. A lot of folks don't realize the differences out there. But if you can have a lot more income than you would with taking no risk, Greg, you're taking risk with the low income, like that 4% rule we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Your money's at risk in the Wall Street. Here, you only share in the gains, you don't share in the losses. Plus, when the gains go up, your income increases.
You can't beat it.
Wow, that's a no-brainer.
It's amazing. As a matter of fact, this whole thing tops off at $40,788.
So that in this example, they started at $15,000 a year, and now it's up to $40,000. How long did it take to get to $40,000 a year?
That would be on year 15.
All right, so 15 years later, Greg. I mean, that is a fantastic plan because a lot of folks I see, they're trapped in whatever income they started with. They can't get any more than that.
That's it.
So, like, if it was $15,000, they would get $15,000 forever, but no more than that. Or they could lose it, or it was only good for one spouse, or it wouldn't pass on to the next of kin. This has all the good green check box when you need all the check boxes at.
Yeah. Right? And let's say we lived to 94. We finally both passed away. They would have taken out $1,083,569
From 275.
So they started with $275,000 and they took over $1 billion out.
Yes,
That's
sir.
a fantastic plan. Well,
no doubt.
Dave, tell folks how to get a plan like this done for themselves.
I mean, if that sounds good and you can find out if that can work for you, how can it work for you? That's what's so great. You can see that retirement plan for you come to life in a comprehensive review. To make that happen, call the number on your screen or text the number on your screen. I mean, that really does sound good. They've had that. So as you said, Coach, they can count on that 15, but that's zombie apocalypse.
Zombie apocalypse.
Well, let's say the market just tanks every single day after you put the money in. We still have that $15,000 a year. But if the market goes up or historically performs like it has in history, they end up with $40,000 a year by year 15. That's amazing. I mean, that is taking the money world and turning it upside down in your favor. Usually it turns upside down against us, doesn't it?
Right.
This is upside down in your favor. This is taking advantage of the money rules. It's taking advantage of income planning. I talk about in my book, one of my main chapters on income planning, making sure you have lifetime income that is predictable with certainty, and you never have to worry about it going away for both you and your spouse. Vitally important. So if you call today, you also get a copy of my brand new book, The Big Book on Retirement, 316 pages.
Yeah, just ask for it when you call in or when you text and they get back with you to come in and talk with the team at Capital Financial. Call or text the number on your screen and say, I do want my copy of The Big Book on Retirement. And speaking of retirement, come in and talk about your retirement. Call or text the number on your screen. And thanks so much for joining us for Financial Safari.